Happy New Year, guys and gals. So we're just about to head out for a sharpening. Got some new stuff. My mom got me a sweatshirt. She's always great when it comes to finding those kind of things. She got me a tan coat a few years back, and now this. I mean, it's hard for me to not wear it. It's nice, but let's get going. Alrighty, we just arrived. I'm gonna go talk to the homeowner, get my canopy set up, and then we'll get to sharpening. So you'll notice, for one, we're gonna be going a little bit out of order. So I'm still doing my progression of 120, 600, but for this knife, I'm also adding 1000 and then strop, giving it a little bit finer of an edge. And reason being on that one is this is a knife from Japan, and was brought back by the homeowner's friend. So, super nice knife and needed a quality edge. He was having a hard time getting a good edge on it, so he asked me if I could just put the sharpest edge I could. So, for this one, I started out with a 15-degree angle. And the other ones, so there's like several other shuns, and then there's a cleaver. For the shuns, I did 20, and then for the cleaver, I did 25. The ultimate goal was he wanted them as sharp as possible, so I'm more than willing to accommodate for that, but I also like to balance sharpness and edge retention. So that's the reason why I did the edges that I did. And you can always see, I like to verify my work, just make sure, okay, the edge reveal is looking good on both sides, if it's not a chisel style blade. That's also a weird thing, is a lot of traditional Japanese blades are chisel edge, so they're only sharpened on one side, making them extremely sharp, but also fairly durable. This one wasn't in that case, thankfully, but at the same time, always good to check and make sure that you're not dealing with a different style edge than what you're used to. Because, okay, if you were to do 15 degrees on both sides, then you would have a problem of you just sharpened one side that shouldn't be sharpened. So this is a belt that you guys haven't seen too often. It's not anything new. It's just 1,000 grit as opposed to my typical progression, which is 120, 600, and strop. So, like I said earlier, With this knife, I did 120, 600, 1000, and then strong. Just to give it a little bit more refined in edge, a little bit more of a polish as opposed to a bitey finish. He wanted this thing sharp, like really sharp. But if you haven't actually had one of my sharpenings, every one of these knives will take the hair off your arm. So they're all crazy sharp, but this one I could go a little bit more with, just because it was a nice Japanese steel and could take advantage of that finer polish. So now on to the second degree, which for these I did at 20 degrees. So that's what I do for most general purpose kitchen knives, just because it offers a good balance between edge retention and sharpness. I mean, they're crazy sharp, don't get me wrong, but I also like to make sure that they stay sharp for a while, because it's not fair to somebody if you go crazy sharp and they're sharp for 2-3 cuts. I mean, what's the point in having them sharpened if they're only going to last for a few cuts? I mean, unless you know how to sharpen yourself and that's what you want out of your knife, I don't feel like that's fair to a customer doing that at such an acute angle that they love it for 3 cuts and then it's back to being dull and they have to call you out again. To me, that's dishonest. As well as taking advantage of the person because they didn't know what they were asking for, which is also another good point, and I do cover this a little bit later, but talk to your sharpener, and later in the video I'll address some of the things to ask, but talk to them, see how knowledgeable they are. I love getting to talk about angles, grits, all that kind of stuff, and show my customers what I do and how I'm different from other people that are in the area, and also the knowledge base that I have when it comes to sharpening. And now that we've finished up with the 120, on to the 600 grit, which you guys already know the progression. 120, 600, and strop. Makes for a great, almost like a satin finish on the edge, which it's a little bit of a toothy edge, but it works so darn well. I love it for cutting vegetables, fruit, all that kind of stuff, and it works good on meat too. So it's the reason why I like to do that as my general purpose edge and put that on people's knives. I have yet to have a complaint on this progression, and if I ever do get a complaint about, okay, it doesn't do something extremely well, then I can tailor to that. So, okay, if they wished it was even more so bitey, okay, I can jump down to a 400 or a 200 and then strop. Instead of doing the 120 and then 600, I can do a 120 and then 200 or a 120 then 400 and then strop, and it'll make for a more bitey edge. Or adversely, I can do like what I did for that Japanese knife where I did the 120, 600, 1000, and then strop, making it a little bit more refined. But also it depends on whether or not the steel can take it. A lot of the times, the toothier edge is a little bit easier to do because it doesn't have to be as structured or as strong. But for the super, super, super fine polishes, you need a super hard steel. And of course, gotta take you up on the chest mount because by far this is my favorite angle. I love getting the flow with this and just show you guys. And also, quick question for you. Do you like it when it's a little bit more zoomed in, or did you like it when it was a little bit more of a wider field of view? I'm kind of digging the wider field of view, but let me know down in the comments which one you think is better. Do you like this a little bit more zoomed in, or would you like to actually see a little bit more broad spectrum? Okay, and I'm going to leave you on the chest mount for this one. So I'm actually going to change it around for the third one, which this is the cleaver. So I'm going to do this one at 25. He asked me if I could do it a little bit sharper. So typically for a cleaver, I like to do like 30, 35, just because, okay, you're hacking into bones, something along those lines. It still works good. But he asked me if I could put a little bit finer of an edge. So you see me pulling out my phone, getting the angle, and making sure that it's where I want it. And then, okay, we're going 120, 600 and strop, just like typical. Alrighty, that's going to wrap things up. I just got done with actually 2 sharpenings. So I had the primary one, and then I had one of his neighbors come over, which brought up bad memories. There's another sharpener out here who absolutely doesn't know what he's doing and is destroying knives. So, little tidbit, if you ever have somebody sharpen your knives, give them some questions. So here's some really good ones, and something I would do if I was going to a sharpener. 1, what angle do you sharpen at? And 2, what's your grip progression? Those 2 things can answer a lot. My typical grip progression is 120, 600, and then strop. And the angle I hold at is 20 degrees. Very repeatable. You're not taking off a lot of material. As opposed to the sharpener that had the knives prior to the ones I just sharpened for the second house. He had gotten a hold of them and sharpened them to like a 10-degree angle, if not lower. They were so far into the primary bevel, which is not okay, because like they were saying, they've had these knives since they were in Germany, and super cool. Love hearing those stories. I love getting that kind of stuff from these, but when I see damage to these kind of blades, it hurts seeing that. So please be careful if you sharpen your knives. Make sure you're putting a correct angle, or you're asking your sharpener, hey, what are you doing, and trying to verify what they're doing, because you can look at a blade and typically tell, okay, does this look right? Does this look wrong? What's going on here? So that's going to wrap things up for this week. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for sticking around. I know I probably got a little bit emotional. I just hate people getting taken advantage of and it resulting in a knife that's improperly sharpened or just abused. So, yeah, I get a little bit soapboxy about it. But thank you for sticking around regardless, and make sure if you're not, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next time. Take care, stay safe.